The Charlie Kirk incident has impacted me in a very profound way. Maybe not for the reasons that you would think, but I feel compelled to speak about this because I want to be real with you. For the past few days, I've been at a conference and I felt that I didn't want to speak on it because I wanted to digest it and see what happened, see how things played out. B, you come here not to learn about politics so much, but to learn about how AI is impacting your world, how it's changing the workforce, how you can use the latest tools and adjust and see what's working and look for patterns. But I recognize that for me not to talk about this would be inauthentic. And I feel I have an obligation as a father, as a man, as a leader, as someone who has a platform that reaches tens of thousands of people to talk about it. And again, this might not be the take that you would expect, might not be a take that you necessarily agree with, and that's fine. But I feel that it needs to be said. And I will tie this into artificial intelligence as I get to near the end of this recording. But it needs to be talked about. So Charlie was a pretty divisive figure. Some people loved him. Some people hated him. Some people didn't know who he was. But he was very much a public figure. He was featured on South Park just a couple of weeks ago. A lot of people knew who he was. He's a big deal in the political world. I'm sure you know who he is now. And I accept that in this world, there's mental illness, that tragedies happen. Bad things happen all the time. Sometimes we can't make sense of them, but bad things happen. Terrible things happen. Children die, get sick. I mean, famine happens. I mean, horrible, horrible things happen all the time. And I accept that these things happen. Obviously, we want to work to reduce that. We don't want bad things to happen, right? Tragedies happen. 9/11 happened. Terrible things happen. Bombs get blown up. Divorces happen. Cheating. Sin is a part of the human condition. You know, if you've never read the Bible before, if you do read the Bible, I would encourage you to go check out the book of Job. I find that Job is one of the most powerful books in the Bible. It's very deep. It's very rich. You don't have to read the entire thing, but if you read the first few chapters of Job, it is life-changing in a few ways. But again, I accept that we live in an evil, sinful world, right? And there have been a lot of different responses to the killing. You know, when he was killed, I was initially, I was sad. I was shocked. Wow, this terrible thing. If you've seen the video, don't watch the video. I was at a conference and the guy next to me said Charlie Kirk was just killed. And he pulled out his phone and he showed me the video. And honestly, I wish I hadn't seen it. It is horrifying video. I mean, his two young kids, under ages of 5 were there. His wife was there. They saw this happen. I mean, it's kind of a horrible thing. And so that is a horrifying thing, but that is not what saddens me. That is not what is impacting me so deeply, okay? What has impacted me and chilled me to my core is the responses that I've seen online to this murder, to this assassination. There is a worldview, and I'm not just going to say it's all Democrats, it's not all Republicans, but there is a growing worldview that dances on the graves of the dead, that celebrates the dead, that is excited about it. And it is purely evil. The same people that claim to be anti-fascists and to fight Nazis, and that is what they have become. Whether or not it was their plan to get there, that is where they are. If you are the kind of person that goes to social media and into TikTok, into Reddit, into Blue Sky, and celebrate the murder of a 31-year-old father of 2, You might disagree with his beliefs. I know Christians, I know pastors that disagree with his ideas on DEI, for example. And specifically, I know some really powerful, strong black men that didn't like him. Okay, and I could accept that. You disagree with that's what this is all about. And so that's not what I'm talking about here. Okay, if you said, I'm praying for him and his family, this shouldn't have happened. Political violence is wrong. I didn't agree with him. That's reasonable. That's reasonable. Okay, we can disagree about things, right? But what is evil is the absurdly large amount of people that are celebrating it, and not just celebrating it, but doxing. By writing down lists of quote unquote who's next, by making shirts with a picture of him with blood squirting out of his neck saying, debate this. That is, guys, it has chilled me to my bone to know that this is how far we have come. If you're not chilled to the bone, I think you need to check yourself. You need to look inside. And I don't want to tell you what to do, but I'm telling you what to do. If you're not chilled, if this doesn't scare you, you need to look within, man. There is talking to somebody about this in a meeting earlier, and I heard the idea that, well, if you're going to put a post out there that celebrates his death, then there should be legal action against you. Should be fines, jail time. And I don't necessarily agree with that, because we do still live in free speech. If you want to do that, I don't think that the law should be brought against you. If you are doxing people, if you are sharing pictures of ICE agents with their masks off and then giving people their address or telling where their kids go to school or where their wives work, that is a call to violence. There should be intense legal action taken against you for doxing, for swatting. That is a direct call to violence, guys. Legal action, fully on board with that. My opinion, I think that, quite frankly, there is law in place that says that you cannot do that. That needs to be enforced, okay? But let's take the other group of people that are dancing and singing and making t-shirts and liking and sharing and commenting and joys. I don't believe there should be legal action, but there should be societal disdain and shame put on these people. These people should lose their jobs. They should be not doxxed. They should lose their jobs. We should call their employers. We should call their company and say, we're not doing business with you. You have a moral rot within your organization. They need to be shamed, because we live in a world now that has been driven by social media, by the way. Social media thrives on this divisiveness. Don't get me started on politicians. I'm not even talking about politicians, but they obviously thrive on this. At this presentation, Tony Robbins shared some heinous things that Thomas Jefferson said about John Adams and vice versa. This is not new. But there should be immense shame put on people that celebrate and glorify and ask for more. They have no part of our society. And what you're going to say, and I want to be clear here, so I don't have to. I'm not even going to respond to these comments. I'm going to say, watch the video. There are people that are say, well, they have free speech. I thought this is cancel culture. I thought we don't cancel people for that. What they fail to understand is that freedom of speech is, as far as I'm concerned, is a club. And when you respect others' freedom of speech, you get it back. Freedom of speech at its fundamental says we can go out in public without fear and we can debate ideas. That doesn't mean that there might be a mentally ill person that might take violent action, okay? But what that does mean is that when that happens, we all come together and say, that guy is wrong, it is unacceptable, we will not support it, we condemn it 100%. And we're gonna go after the people that pushed him to make that happen. Okay? If you are calling for violence and you celebrate violence against people because of speech, you are the problem. And you should be ostracized from society because you don't fit in with what we're trying to build here in the United States of America. Does that make sense? That's how I feel. If you're not part of the club, you don't get to be part of the club. You do not get to use free speech against us. You do not get to dox us and celebrate when people are murdered. And there are some nuanced levels to this, but when you go online and you see the post, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. There are some liberal influencers that fall on both lines of this, right? I saw a video of a young man who was crying, disagreed with Charlie on everything, but he cried. Stephen A. Smith had a really good take on this too. You should watch Stephen A. Smith's take. He disagreed with Charlie on a lot. But he also knows that killing someone for their beliefs and then celebrating it is completely unacceptable. And by the way, we look at patterns in history. This is not a new thing, guys. Luigi Mangione gunned down a healthcare CEO in cold blood in New York City, and people have martyred him. They celebrate him. They worship him. Fact, Donald Trump was almost assassinated. He took a bullet in the ear, and people are saying, don't miss next time. Try again. I would if I could. Pure, heinous evil. These people do not belong in our society. And if we don't call it out, if you don't acknowledge it, it will keep happening. It is completely unacceptable. These people need to be ostracized from society. There needs to be a penalty when you celebrate murder and death. Guys, this is pure evil. This is demonic. There's something going on that needs to be addressed. And I don't know the answer, but what I do know is that more violence does not solve it. As a Christian, there's a verse that it's very hard to understand. I struggle with, and Jesus says, if your enemy slaps you, turn and show him the other cheek. And I hate to say it, but that is where we are. We do not go to violence. However, the people that do feed and fuel this evil, they need to be removed. Get out. GTFO. You do not belong. You do not deserve to generate income in our society. There needs to be a penalty. There needs to be a social penalty. There's not a legal penalty. There needs to be a civil agreement that as Americans, we agree that murder is wrong. And there, unfortunately, there is a large subset that is growing and festering and emboldened to fuel this hate. They are doing it on social media because they get likes and shares and comments. It needs to be stopped. It makes me so sad that people feel this way. So sad. So sad. I will forever be changed. And the last point I want to bring as I tie a bow on my thoughts here for all of the internet, thousands and thousands of people that watch the videos, for all of you to see. Well, where does AI play into this? Well, AI is a mirror in a way. It's a very intelligent PhD style mirror. And we saw this a few videos ago where a young man who is mentally disturbed used ChatGPT as his suicide assistant. It helped him end himself. And you can see where this is going, okay? If AI is a mirror, if you're putting hate into mirror, you are going to get hate back, and these ideas are going to be reinforced. It needs to end, guys. And I'll be honest, I don't think that it will end. I would love to paint this optimistic picture, but we need to be aware of the tools that we're using and how they reinforce bad ideas. And as a society, we need to recognize that worldview is evil. enough, enough. I don't have much more to say, guys. I'm just so sad. And I didn't want to talk about this on the channel. However, what's the point of any of this if we can't call out evil and stop evil? I think that artificial intelligence and this channel and the newsletter and the community here has the potential to change the world for good, to empower tens of millions of men to be the best versions of themselves, to use AI, to thrive with AI, to provide for their families. But if we don't cut out evil when we see it, we have lost the plot, man. We are leaders in our communities. We are leaders for our kids. They're watching. And we're leaders for our business, for our employees. We must call out this heinous evil when it happens. And not just call out the evil, but let people know your worldview is not acceptable. We don't dance on graves. We don't call for more. We don't put out lists. We don't do that. All right, that's all I got to say, guys. I'll be back tomorrow. Peace.